YouTube is a perfect name. It's television, but anyone who wants one gets to have a channel. It's YouTube. Before the era of YouTube, if you wanted your face to appear on a screen, aside from maybe showing like home videos to friends or whatever, your best bet was public access. I don't even know if that exists anymore. Of course, just having a channel doesn't necessarily mean anyone is going to watch it. Let me ask you a question. Do you want to be famous? Well, how famous are we talking? Like PewDiePie famous? Mr. Beast famous? Brad Pitt famous? Not sure why he's the next example that automatically comes to mind. Clearly there are problems that come with a certain level of fame, but how about just a little bit famous? If you make content online, assuming you show your face on camera, I think it's safe to say it would feel awesome to get recognized in public by a fan for the first time. That's probably a moment you'd remember forever. Personally, I think I'd be happy even if it only happened once in my entire YouTube career. And there probably is a tipping point of popularity where it does start to happen again and again and slowly becomes less special over time. And then a further tipping point where it starts to become a bit disruptive.
Casey, my man.
But that is a level of fame that only a tiny fraction of people will ever achieve. The truth is, even having it happen just that one time is probably something the vast majority of content creators will never experience. My wife teaches music at an elementary school, and the teachers will often put out a board where students can write down what they want to be when they grow up. Maybe you can guess what the most popular answer is. Of course, it's not totally clear if all these kids want to be famous or what type of content they dream of creating, but that's okay, they've got their whole lives ahead of them to figure it out. Or just give up on the dream of being a YouTuber when they realize how soul-crushing it is to try and please the algorithm. Me, on the other hand, I'm almost 35. But that's fine. Now, it's probably worth distinguishing between a quote-unquote famous YouTuber and a successful YouTuber. It's difficult to know how many people actually make a living off of YouTube, but I think any channel that has over 100,000 subscribers has a decent shot of scraping together some kind of livable income. According to various estimates, there is somewhere in the vicinity of 300,000 channels that have hit that mark and received the nice shiny silver play button. That represents something like 0.2% of all YouTube channels. And of course, most people who start channels don't take it seriously enough to actually try and make a living off of it, but by the numbers, those are still pretty brutal odds. Out of that 0.2%, it's hard to say how many have ever or regularly do get recognized in public. I think many of them probably have had some small taste of fame with that many followers, but safe to say most of them aren't making millions upon millions of dollars or getting invited to the Met Gala or whatever it is real celebrities do. When I hear someone who's made it talk about how they never expected to be so successful and they've always just been passionate about their art and never in their wildest dreams did they ever expect to have so many fans, I do not believe them. In my wildest dreams, I've imagined virtually every echelon of possible success. Which is not to say I want to be the next Casey Neistat or whoever is a more current example of a famous YouTuber. Look, I already said I was old, okay? The point is, every time I hit the upload button, part of me does think, maybe this is it. Even a video like this one, which if I'm being honest about it, is probably a bit more self-indulgent and lower effort than some of my more focused, topic-driven work, I still can't help but think, hey, why not get 1 million views? Why not get 2 million views? Why not permanently alter the trajectory of my channel and by extension, the trajectory of my life and career? In some ways, it can be useful to have a mindset like this as a creative person, because the belief, delusional or not, that you have a special gift to offer the world and it's really only a matter of time until enough people finally catch on and realize your greatness is a pretty good motivator to keep you going. I guess the question then becomes, how long do you keep going, waiting for that breakthrough moment before you start to accept that it may never come? It's not a great thing to think about. There's a pretty standard piece of advice for succeeding on YouTube, which is to find your niche. Supposedly, you'll get more love from the algorithm if you consistently target a specific audience. And if you choose to specialize in something less saturated than, say, the nebulous field of cultural commentary video essays with a little bit of amateur philosophy sprinkled in, you'll ultimately have less competition and a greater chance of rising above the rest. It's common for creators to start off making a fairly wide variety of videos, then as they see what gets the most views, gradually drift into a more well-defined genre. But there's always the mostly naive hope that people will simply like your personality so much that they'll enjoy watching whatever you put out, even if it's kind of experimental and weird. When I started this channel, I did start out just sort of uploading whatever so that I could try out different styles of videos. The first time I made a more polished visual essay style video was also the first time, and as of now only time, that I got over 20k views on a video, so it made sense for me to continue down the path of making video essays. But I still frequently question whether within this broad category of video essays, I need to still home in on a more well-defined niche. That first successful video was about Buddhism and Western culture, and if all I cared about was targeting a specific audience, I could make my channel more narrowly focused on, say, the intersection between spirituality and modern life. And while that is a topic that interests me, I don't think I could sustain an entire channel focused on it. Of course, there's plenty of very successful channels which do make essays on a fairly wide variety of topics, and the bigger your channel becomes, the more you can count on at least a certain baseline of views, even for topics that are less algorithm friendly. At least in theory. Over time, the YouTube algorithm has evolved to place less and less emphasis on subscriptions, preferring instead to recommend you content it thinks you'll click on, as opposed to content specifically from creators that you're subscribed to. And even popular channels have to grapple with the fact that if they don't make content that pleases the algorithm, it may not really matter how many subscribers they have. But as creators, we still desperately want subscribers, not just to hit certain milestones, although I'm sure those are nice, but also because we simply want to know that there are actual fans of our work out there who will keep coming back and watching each new video we create. It helps if you turn on notifications, just FYI. There are a lot of different paths to success on YouTube, but none of them, unless you happen to get extremely lucky, are easy. And certainly the most narrow and potentially difficult of these paths is the one that eventually leads you to become some sort of internet celebrity. I've always wanted to be an artist of some kind. When I was a kid, I dreamed of being a game designer, and I imagined what it would be like to create video games that were on par with the greatest games of all time. In my 20s, I was in a band, and I naturally imagined what it would be like to hit it big in music. Professionally, I'm a graphic designer, but to be honest, that barely feels like art anymore because I'm just so tired of creating work for clients. It's not my art. Now YouTube has become my primary creative outlet, and I like it because it brings together a lot of different skills that I've learned over the course of my life. And in theory, it should be enough to just keep going down this path, continuing to hone my craft and continuing to add subscribers to my channel bit by bit. And that is the conclusion to this video because it's all I really can do. Just keep posting videos and see what happens. If you want to make videos that people want to watch, which I do, then you probably want as many people as possible to watch those videos, which I do. And if the consequence of millions upon millions of people watching your videos is that you get just a little bit famous, well, that's fine. And if a further consequence of that little bit of fame is that you start to make millions and millions of dollars, well, that's also fine. So please, no shitty platitudes about making art for art's sake or being in it solely for the love of the craft. Maybe some people genuinely do feel that way, but still, you've imagined what it would be like to be wildly successful. You've at least thought about it. And hey, if you watch my videos and you happen to see me walking down the street, say what's up so that I can feel temporarily famous. I mean, one problem is that I rarely go anywhere these days, but still, I hope to see you soon.